Well, when I first heard about it, I was in New Jersey. I got a phone call. I left immediately for Memphis. I functioned barely for 5 days I was here. I had no idea what I was doing. I wouldn't have been anywhere else. I felt like I lost a member of my family. I felt a terrific void in my life. And you always thought of Elvis as living forever. You just never figured that he'd ever die. And just a tremendous emptiness in my heart. And it's 5 years later, and it still is just as hard as it was 5 years ago. And I've moved to Memphis to be where Elvis is. And I'm going to start crying.
The saddest day that I've ever known was the day God called Elvis home. He lay so still, not a tear seemed to stand. Surely God stood close and held his hand. I'll never forget the look in his face as it seemed to say, I've gone with Jesus to sing in heaven today.
I've gone home to sing in heaven today.
I feel so lonely, my heart so sad and blue over the departure of someone as great as you.
As great as you.
Well, I was real stunned. It's something that you think is never going to happen. And it's kind of like being a duplicate now without an original. I've had the nickname Elvis since I was 12, and I imagine until I'm old and gray, people here in my hometown will still call me Elvis. Little girls in the supermarkets when I'm down in Memphis or down in Kentucky or Florida, I see little girls go over and tug on their mama's skirt and say, hey, Mama, that guy looks like Elvis. Their mama says, hush, be quiet, you know, stuff like that. But then you walk away and you turn around, their mother's looking right at you.
I think our lives and Elvis's, in our lives and Elvis's, there happens to be a lot of coincidences, like the fact that Elvis Presley is a twin and his brother died at birth, and the fact that we're identical twins and I almost died at birth. I was stillborn.
1966, November 14th, 1966. The movie Blue Hawaii. And I fell in love. And I was a newlywed. Huh. And I told my husband I wanted a divorce. Because I was in love and it wasn't with him. And I said, how come you don't look that good in your uniform? Because we were both in the Army at the time. And he looked at me, he said, what is your problem? I said, never mind. You wouldn't understand.
I impersonated Elvis because he was my idol, a person who I looked up to. And for me to get on stage and to do his music and to resemble a man as great as Elvis, that's my ambition. And that's why I like to be called an impersonator rather than an imitator. I don't imitate Elvis. I don't try to be Elvis. I just do his music and dress in the style which he did.
I first met Artie when I was downtown shopping with a friend one day, and I went into an Oscar drugstore and I saw him buying a can of hairspray. And that kind of struck me funny in a way because at that time guys didn't use hairspray as much as women did, you know, but it just kind of was a little mystic, you know, and I thought, well, geez, maybe I'd like to get to know this guy. And we met and we started dating, and about 3 months after we were married. And it's been that way now for 16 years.
Sometimes we bring people home, don't get the wrong idea, but we bring people home, guys mainly, because we don't get along.
And when we bring them home, they're all set and ready to go hop in the sack.
And we put on our Elvis Presley music, and then we pull out a game of Yahtzee.
And if they don't like our Elvis Presley music, then they get thrown out on their ass. And if they say anything against God or Elvis Presley, they get thrown out on their ass again. Now, if they think they're going to get lucky, they're wrong, because we sit down, have a nice little game of Yahtzee. After the first round, they get up and leave.
Exactly.
And he just never understood. And I told him at one point, I said, you're just, well, when I went to Hawaii to see Elvis, he said, you're insane. He said, you need to be put away. He said, you're a sick woman. And I said, if this is sick, I never want to get better. I want to stay in critical condition for the rest of my life. And he filed for divorce on certain grounds of extreme cruelty, and Elvis was item number 2, excessive devotion to Elvis Presley. And I said, I love it.
The greatest feeling I had on stage was when these people had brought their little boy in to see my show. It's kind of hard for me to talk about it. He was in a wheelchair, and I kind of felt like Santa Claus in the little boy's eyes. His eyes lit up real big. It was probably the greatest experience he had in his life. And he couldn't walk, and here he was sitting in a wheelchair, and for me to bring him enjoyment, and that he didn't realize it, but he was bringing me enjoyment just coming to see my show.
When we were in school, all the kids used to make fun of us because they didn't like they used to call us different names, just like they did to Elvis Presley. But I got news for you. Look where Elvis Presley is now. I mean, he's the king of rock and roll. All them people who ever laughed at Elvis are wishing they never did now. You know, just like us. I mean, we're not anywhere specific yet, but the kids in school will know who we are when we get out there in life, you know, and show them what we're going to do.
Here was somebody who took up 99% of my time and my money, and yet the thought of killing myself never, ever crossed my mind. Never. And I don't understand that. And yet at the same time, at that point, it was hard to imagine what life would be like without Elvis. I couldn't imagine it. I sat there and I thought, what do we do now? And I wasn't the only one. We all stood at the gate, you know, before the big throng of people got there. What are we going to do? How are we going to live? You know, he's gone.
Oh, the king lives on forever through his pictures and his song, and the world keeps on remembering like nothing even wrong. And each day 10 million people play the songs he left behind. Yes, the king lives on forever in our hearts and in our minds. He gave us everything that he had to give, even though he didn't like the way he had to leave. He's the #1 attraction everywhere you go. If you ever get to heaven, you can see his show. Oh, the king.
On August 16th, 1978, on the first anniversary of Elvis's death, I was in Memphis. And on that day, between 11 and 2, they closed the gates at Graceland just for a couple of hours. They could have a private memorial for Elvis. Well, at that time, none of the fans were allowed to go up to the grave, so we were just hanging out down at the gate. At that time, I was just indiscriminately taking pictures, and I had all my film developed, and months later, I was looking through my album, and I came across the cloud. And, well, it really looks like Elvis. I guess in a way this just testifies to the fact that Elvis was watching what was going on at Graceland.
Oh, the king lives on forever through his pictures and his song, and the world keeps on remembering like nothing even wrong. And each day 10 million people play the songs he left behind. Yes, the king lives on forever in our hearts and in our minds. Oh, the king lives on forever in our
Elvis Presley was the embodiment of the American dream, the classic rags to riches story. His music and his death have become embedded in the American heritage. I, as the congressperson from the Memphis area in Tennessee, gladly joined with my colleagues in the Congress in co-sponsoring H-Reg 296, a resolution designating January 8, 1983 as a National Elvis Presley Day in this nation. Hopefully, my colleagues in the Congress and the hundreds of thousands of fans of Presley will all join together and make this a reality in the Congress of the United States.
Are you ready? Yeah!
Give me an E!
E!
Give me an L!
L!
Give me a V!
B!
Give me an I!
I!
Give me an S!
S!
What do we have?
Elvis!
Elvis Day!
Elvis Day! Can't hear you! Elvis Day!
Louder!
Elvis Day!
Any normal, red-blooded American woman that loves him is a liar if she said that she would not want to go to bed with Elvis Presley. I'm sorry. No, I take that back. I met a woman who said if she was given the, we were discussing this one day, if she was given the opportunity of making love to Elvis or having him sing to her, she would want him to have him sing. She would want him to sing to her. And I looked at her and I said, you're sick. I said, personally, I'd want him to sing while he was making love. But I said, if I had the choice, I said, there's no way I would choose to sing it over the screwing any day. And she said, why? And I said, well, I wouldn't admit whether I'd screwed him or not. I wouldn't admit it because that's personal and private. And I don't believe that you share that.
I've had many people say they were going to, make me a star and put money behind my show and help me to do the things I wanted to do. And at that moment, I felt great. I felt on top of the world. But usually, I was in for a big letdown. There was a number of times I've thought about just quitting the entertainment business altogether and hanging up my jumpsuit. But I had a couple dreams since Elvis passed away. And the one time was where he came to me and he told me that I have to go carry on doing what I'm doing, to keep it up, not to give up. He says rewards would be mine.
We'd just like to see something big come out of it, maybe just once, and let it get a little recognition, and let people know that there are Elvis impersonators who really did love Elvis, not just because they can make a fast buck. It's not what you think it is. It looks like a lot of glamour and glitter and everything, but it's not. But to us, it's just like part of our life. We want it to be here, and we're going to stick with it. And if it doesn't come about, fine. We've struggled through all this long, and we're still keeping our heads above water and everything, so we're just going to stay with it.
This is probably the heaviest thing we got here today, okay? We're going to go ahead and do it right now. This is the first publicity shot of Elvis Presley. It's quite unique, but most important thing, he's autographed it on the back. It says, "Love ya, Elvis Presley." We're going to start this off at $275 minimum bid. All right? It's worth more than that. Do I hear a bid at $275? Got one bid at $275. Are there any more bids? $280. Got $280 in the back. $300. $300 in the back. $310 up front. Any more bids? $310. $310 once. $310 twice. $325. $330 up front. $330 up front. $340 over on the side. $350. $350 up front. $375 over on the side. $375. $380 up front.
$400.
$405 up front.
$425.
$425. $430 up front. $450. $450 over on the side. $450 over on the side. Any more bids? $450. $455. 455 up front. 475. 475 over on the side. 480 up front. Any more bids?
$500.
5 big ones over on the side. 5 over on the side. Any more bids? 500 once. 500 twice. Sold. 500.
My daughter Peggy's 19. She tolerates Elvis. I think she appreciates him more now than she ever did. She told me that now, especially every time she hears an Elvis song, she really misses me. And I said, well, you know where I am. Nothing's stopping you from getting on a bus and coming down here and bringing the baby. My son is 15. He did not want to move. He did not want to change schools, and I can understand that. But I was not going to spend the rest of my life or the next 4 years sitting in New Jersey waiting for him to finish high school. And I had an alternative. His father was there, and I could leave him.
I think Elvis is definitely our father. We have his features, we have his eyes, we even have his little cut-off lips here, which aggravate us.
But we asked her mother on several occasions, and she never said no.
Then again, she never said yes.
Then again, she never said yes, but she never said no. You know, she never gave us any kind of answer except, oh, come on, get out of here, you know. But we feel that he is our father.
My daughter came home from school a number of times when she first started and told me that the kids were teasing her in school, calling her, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. But I think she understands down deep. There's been times in my daughter's life where she's had to go without things because my work wasn't steady at one time or another. And she stated to me, you know, why don't you get a job? And I didn't know what to tell her at that moment.
CB was closer to me because she understood, and she was somebody I could share him with. My other 2 kids weren't interested. Now, were she alive, she would be here with me. There would have been no question whether she would have transferred schools or not. And Saturday is a day I'm not really looking forward to. It's hard enough that it's his birthday, but it was also her birthday, which turned out to be ironic, of all my kids, that she would be born on his birthday.
We feel we're so much like him. We look so much like him. We are so much like him that Presley would be a fitting name for us.
And we promised ourselves, and we promised Elvis that our firstborn son would be named Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. as soon as we got our names changed. Well, when we got him, since he's a little boy, we named him Elvis Aaron Presley Jr. And when we do have a son and our names are changed to Presley, then we'll name it Elvis Aaron Presley III.
My name is Elvis Aaron Presley. My name used to be called Herbert Bear, but in later part of '78 I changed my name because the people says I look like Elvis Presley.
I had asked her what she wanted for her birthday, and she said, oh, Mommy, she says, I want to go see Elvis. Oh, I want to see Elvis. And I took her, and he took her up on stage, and he held her on his knee, and he kissed her, and he put a scarf around her neck. And from that time on, she would not let me wash that dress. And I kept the scarf. I still have it. But I buried her in the dress.
2 years after Elvis passed away, my wife and I had a little boy. And the first thing that came into my mind was to name him after Elvis. So what we did was we took and we turned Elvis's name around. Instead of Elvis Aaron, we called him Aaron Elvis. And he's going to be 5 years old now. And even when I'm performing sometimes, he has his own little jumpsuit and that, and he comes up on the stage with me, and I introduce him to the audience, and they just go wild when he comes up on stage. It makes me think of years to come when maybe after I'm not here no more, he'll be going on doing the Elvis music in Elvis style, carrying on the tradition.
My friend Elvis, you fill our world with your song. To another world, now your soul
20 years we've loved you. It will be till the end. Thank you, Elvis, Elvis Presley, my friend, my friend.
Well, I feel that I didn't choose to do the Elvis show. I feel like I was chosen. A friend of mine read my tarot cards. It stated in them in so many words that I would be remembered bigger after death than what I am in life.
Elvis Presley, my friend, my Elvis was my friend.
It hurts, but it's a fact I have to face. The guy that killed her was found not guilty by reasons of insanity, walked out of the courtroom a free man. A week ago, they picked him up. He has committed a second murder. Maybe this time they'll do to him what they should have done the first time.
To me, I believe it's no coincidence that the date of Elvis's death, 8/16/1977, adds up to 2001, Space Odyssey, which is a theme song that Elvis used on his shows the last few years of his time with us. To me, everything happens for a reason. I believe everything happens for a reason. And for this to happen on Elvis's death date, adding up to his theme song, is just another one of the miracles that we probably won't understand in our lifetime.
Well, it just seems kind of funny that his death day, supposed death day, is August 16th, 1977, and all that adds up to 2001, you know, which is his opening song, which he just recently started using a couple years back. I just feel that, you know, there are a lot of different things if you really sit down and think about it. My father always told me to always use your common sense. And if you use your common sense, you'll realize Elvis isn't dead.
When you change the letters to Elvis's name around, it appears to mean lives. And to me, that means that Elvis will always be there no matter what, even though he's been gone for so many years. It just seems like he's still with us, and he always will be. It's just really a kind of a supernatural thing, really mystic and nice, in a nice sort of way.
I had Elvis music played at my daughter's funeral because it was appropriate. She loved him. Why not? Since you play music at a funeral, why can't I play what I want? I buried her with a copy of Burning Love in her hands. My family freaked out.
An impersonator like myself to Elvis is like a priest to the church. They're giving that live performance because God is not there in body. We cannot see him. And Elvis is not there in body. We cannot see him. So therefore, a priest is like an Elvis impersonator or vice versa. They're giving that live performance.
And a week after her death, I went to an Elvis concert and I thought my family was going to flip out. How can you do this? I said, because I have to go. And I came out of there with my sanity restored, somewhat.
If you really believe in Elvis, if you are a good person, you know, if you follow God, I mean, you know, Elvis can heal you. And we would like to see Elvis Presley become the first Protestant saint.
Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth, His mercy,
ladies and gentlemen. What a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Goodbye, king of rock and roll. Don't you know you touched our soul? You made the music come alive around the year of 55. Swivel hips and turned up smile, and blue suede shoes, you set the style. While we watched and while we grew, you won girls' heart with loving you. So long, king of rock and roll. Now you're gone, and so we're told. You're a star we will remember with tender love. Return to sender. Goodbye, king of rock and roll. Don't you know you touched our soul? You're a star we will remember with tender love. Return to sender.